I'll start with an invocation. Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day and for the many blessings of life. As we do our business here today, and always help us to seek to do what is right and what is pleasing in your sight. We ask you to continue to bless our community and those who work to serve our citizens, especially our police officers and all our emergency service providers. In Jesus' name I pray.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a quorum. Ask for approval of the minutes for the
Motion.
previous meeting.
Motion to approve minutes.
Approval of agenda.
Ready for your approval, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we don't have any presentations, and we'll go straight into new business.
Yes, sir. The first item we have for your consideration, this is resolution number 25-05. This is authorizing the Whole Barrett Law Firm to represent the county in the PFAS litigation. It was brought to our attention that there's some litigation out there concerning water system levels, and while our system has maintained the proper levels, we do think that we may be entitled to some of these damages and settlement fees in this lawsuit. Typically, you know, Whole Barrett performs the county work at the negotiated rate, but this being a different thing and not knowing how much work is going to go into this, we decided to separate this out and do a contingency basis. So they would only get 25% of whatever they recover. If they recover anything, if they recover nothing, they get paid nothing. This actually started as a result of several other law firms reaching out to us, asking us to enter into the class action lawsuit, and they were looking at 50% of the fees. Of what was actually claimed. So staff recommends entering this resolution 25-05. This will authorize the Whole Barrett firm to represent the county in the PFAS litigation on a contingency fee rather than paying the hourly rate.
Move to consent.
Second.
So moved. Kennedy?
Mr. Granado will brief these.
Or none.
How are y'all? Sean?
You guys are pretty familiar with this. The first one that we're going to go over is a 5th-year renewal for Ceres Environmental Services for debris management. You know that originally it's the contract with 4 renewal years, but being that we're still smack dab in the middle of this, to cut them off on June 30th and try to get another bid and go through all the proposals and everything, we thought wouldn't be prudent at this time. So staff recommends extending them for 1 year.
Move to consent.
Second.
So moved.
And similarly, with Debris Tech for debris monitoring service, the same exact situation. We're going to do a 5th-year extension. Staff recommends approval.
Are you pleased with their service?
Very much so. Tech, yes, sir, very much so. Ceres has gotten way better over since we put the pressure on them a little bit 6 weeks ago or so, but I can't say enough about Debris Tech. They're awesome.
Move to consent.
Commissioner Miller, I know that you've been very involved with this. Do you have any comment on?
Theories. Yeah.
Believe me, we asked Commissioner Miller's blessing before I brought this up here. I don't want her to yell at me from back there.
And so did I.
Yes.
Second.
So moved. Okay, we'll move to community services, animal service donation.
You just have a few donations today. Attic Treasures, $1,000. SD Clifton, $150. FD Clifton Construction, $150. And Robert Crosson, $100. Staff recommends approval.
Move to consent.
Second.
So moved. Nothing added. Any legal matters?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll move to staff reports.
Good morning. I have our response summaries and the year-to-date budget report to answer any questions.
No, sir.
Any public comments? Anything from any of the commissioners? Okay. No executive session, we'll adjourn.
I'm calling to order the Public Works and Engineering Services Committee meeting for February 25th. Already given the invocation and pledge, and we are with a full quorum this morning with 3 members. I'll take a motion to approve the minutes from the previous.
Second.
Thank you. Do we have any changes to the agenda today?
Ready for your approval, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Being that we have no presentation or consent agenda items, we'll move directly into the debate agenda and begin with Mr. Gordon.
Morning.
Good morning.
I have 2 items for your consideration this morning, and the first is an independent contractor agreement with Adura Group for our annual biosolids report. This is something we do every year for our land application of biosolids from our wastewater plants. They include all the testing, all the information. They have to do quarterly reports to EPD and then a final annual report. The price that they gave us of $15,500 is a lump sum price, and it's the same as last year. Staff recommends approval.
I had a couple of quick questions on this, just to understand it a little bit better. So in layman's terms, this is spreading treated sewage sludge onto land, is that?
It's a land application, so you have to have somewhere for all the solids to go after you've treated it.
Right.
So they've been treated, there's nothing wrong with them, it's just, they put it on the ground to grow hay. So Hudson's Grassing picks it up, they grow hay, and they spread the hay on DOT right-of-ways for,
Okay.
to grow grass, so after they, I guess, cut the hay.
Okay, thank you.
Move to consent.
Second.
So moved. Next.
The next item is a change order for Kayenta billing software. This is the change order to get us to the finish line. So we're projected to go live on April the 28th, and this is an extension of time and cost. But we feel like we're in good shape to go live with the software. We're beginning daily ops testing next week. We've already implemented our testing program for all our CSRs and staff. And the cost extension of the contract time is $91,800, and staff recommends approval of the change order.
So the cost was 91,800.
91,000.
And then it was a 6-month delay, is that right?
No, this will
Original.
delay it another, I guess this will get us another 4 months.
Okay.
So,
And with the challenges with this, the data was old, it was a very old system, and you had to convert the data, wasn't that?
Yeah, lots of challenges, really. The older system we've been using since 1978,
Yeah.
it would allow you to enter the data in fields in any way, shape, or form. So our IT staff's been working very, very hard to write scripts to go grab that data and pull it in. So we've had some challenges there. We've had some challenges with IES World, with CityWorks, with GIS. The software needs to integrate into all those platforms in order to work properly and kind of be streamlined. So when we enter work orders in, it has to go out, put it in CityWorks. After the work order gets completed, it has to bring it back into Kayenta. So just a big task.
Right.
Move to consent.
Second.
So moved. Morning, Mr. Titus.
Good morning.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry, I have one
Sure.
more question for Mr. Gordon before we move on. Can you walk us through the letter that was sent to the public about a week ago or a couple weeks ago regarding the elevated TTHM levels in the water system, and just help us understand that a little bit better?
Sure, yeah, EPD sends us samples every quarter. And so they'll send us a sample, and we have 7 days to go out, take the sample, return it to EPD. And so they sent us a sample back in November. We went out, took the sample. Well, on February 12th, we got a notice of violation from our November sample. Well, bills were going out. You know, we tried to, I guess, cut a little cost instead of having to send out separate mailers. So bills were going out on the 14th, so we went ahead and incorporated that letter in our bill. So if you know anything about our plants, we use 3 different disinfectant means for our plants. So we use peroxide, UV disinfection, and chlorine. So the state and EPA requires us to have a residual chlorine in our water. So as we treat the water, the chlorine creates something called a disinfection byproduct. So that's the TTHMs. It's in everybody's water in every developed nation. So, you know, the chlorine inactivates any kind of waterborne illness that's possible. So the water wasn't dirty by any means. I mean, we basically disinfected it 3 times. So the UV, the chlorine, and the peroxide would have eliminated anything. But it does create a disinfectant byproduct that is regulated. We exceeded it by 2 parts per billion, the regulation. So it's 80 parts per billion is the regulation. So we were at 82. But it's a long-term running average. So if you have 1 hit, you still have to keep averaging that same over time. So we have, in February, we'll have 2 more letters going out. So 1 was a hit in our 620 system in November, and then the same site again is still over the long-term running average. So there's 4 samples that go into the long-term running average, and then we have another in the 620 system. So we'll have more letters go out. But it's a minor violation. TTHMs are not an immediate health hazard, and it's something that you would have to drink gallons a day for years and years and decades in order to have a slight elevated risk of colorectal or bladder cancer. So just for 1 or 2 hits, you know, and drinking it over a few months is not gonna hurt anybody's health.
Have we done anything to mitigate that, keep that from happening again?
Yeah, we're looking at many things. One is, before we went to our new treatment process with the UV, we were putting in powder activated carbon out at Clarks Hill, and we were well below the limit then. We do know that powder activated carbon will absorb organics and have them settle out in the system. So, you know, the issue is with organics that get through your filters, and your residual chlorine reacts with it over time. So we do know that. We can use things like a sodium permanganate maybe to take care of organics. Right now, we're flushing our system more out there because water age and time is really the culprit. You know, in the summertime, we're 2.5 times in that area of flow as we are in the wintertime. So we drop our tanks. We've dropped our tanks to half full, and we're flushing more to try to mitigate the problem and keep the water age as young as possible. But we're also looking at other things. We're going to a conference next week and looking at better flocculation and sedimentation in our basins to eliminate organics. there's several things we can do, and we can go into a lot of details on that if you maybe want to sidebar some of it, but we are looking at additional resources and additional treatment methods maybe to improve the situation.
Going forward, we're not anticipating this happening.
No, we've implemented a good flushing plan, so we think that'll keep the water young enough to solve that problem.
Thank you.
If I could just add, I think when these letters go out, again, we are required by law to send these letters in a certain time period. It has to say a certain thing. And I think sometimes the law intends for it to inform the public, but the way that it has to be written, sometimes it scares the public. And we're restricted as to what we can add or what else we can say or how we can market it. And again, it's just another example, really, of local government having to do the job, doing it well, but then our hands being tied by state and federal government as to how we respond to issues like this. The car industry is very heavily regulated, but I'll tell you that you have a much, much, much higher chance of getting killed in a car accident than you do drinking this water. But when you read the letter, you certainly thought that Columbia County had dropped the ball and that we were all really potentially going to have serious health risk. And I'm not trying to downplay the fact that could happen, but you heard Mr. Gordon say, how minute that was and how much of that water you would have to drink. I just think it's just, again, it's just another example of how the state and federal laws dictate how we have to perform at the local level.
That provides some good perspective, so.
If I can piggyback off that for just 1 second, it's just in our 620, so we had one hit that time. We sample in 8 locations around the county, so it's not a county-wide issue. But we have to send letters out to everyone in the county, so it makes it look like, we had the same issue through the whole county and where we just had one location.
Right. Okay, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Titus.
Morning. The first item we have is a purchase of a John Deere track loader for roads and bridges. This placement purchase, and it's an approved purchase in the 24-25 budget, which was budgeted for $125,000. This is a replacement for $118,800 to be paid out of IPTF. Staff recommends approval.
How many hours are on the machine for replacing?
Not sure the exact hours. I know it's 10 years old, and these are rugged machines.
10 years is enough. Move to consent.
Second.
So moved. Next.
The next item is the replacement of a Ham tandem roller for the Roads and Bridges Department as well. It is 30 years old.
30,
30, yes, sir. It was approved in the 24-25 budget as well at $91,000. The current price is $86,200 to be paid out of IPTF. Staff recommends approval.
Move to consent.
Second.
So moved. Next.
This next item is Resolution 25-07 to decrease the speed limit on North Fairview Drive. Staff received a request to study this the 55-mile-an-hour portion of North Fairview Drive. Had some safety concerns from citizens on that corridor. We identified 2 areas with sight distance issues. There are 4 residents about 2,500 feet, 4 properties about 2,500 feet from Appling Harlem, where there are horizontal sight distance issues, and there's also George Walton Drive's about 1,000 feet to the west of Appling Harlem. There's a vertical sight distance issue when you're traveling at 55 miles an hour. The staff recommends reducing this 9/10 of a mile portion of North Fairview Drive down from 55 miles an hour to 45 miles an hour. And because of these sight distance issues, I'm confident we can keep it on the radar permit. Staff recommends approval.
Just said, words radar permit.
Sir. So when we change speed limits,
Yeah.
we have to, the change in the speed limit has to be justified.
Right.
If it's not, then the state will not allow us to keep it on the radar permit for law enforcement to run radar.
Understood. So this meets those qualifications?
Yes, sir.
Move to consent.
Second.
So moved. Thank you.
This next item is change order number 2 with Keck and Wood for Washington Road at William Few Intersection Improvement Project. Originally in 2023, the county entered into an agreement with Keck and Wood to improve that Washington Road on that corridor, to expand make it to where it's 2 through lanes in both directions. In the eastbound direction, it was a through and a through right lane because we didn't have any additional right-of-way. We were trying to work within the existing infrastructure. However, late last year, I believe, the county purchased a strip of land between Washington Road and Windmill Parkway. Became available, the county purchased it, so now staff has identified the availability of that land to utilize for a right turn exclusive turn lane onto William Few Parkway. So we would like to go ahead and make that addition before we finalize the design and let this to construction. In order to do that, we requested a change order from Keck and Wood, and they proposed incorporating that right turn lane in for an additional $44,150 paid out of TIA discretionary. Staff recommends approval.
Move to consent.
So moved.
This next item is the independent contractor agreement with Goodwin Mills K. Wood for the design of the Uchi Creek Greenway, all remaining phases. This is a Tier 2 project, 3 connections, basically from Baker Place landfill to Patriots Park to the proposed coming park and community services at William Few and Hardy McManus Road, and also from Blanchard Woods Park to that same park at William Few and Hardy McManus Road. The total design budget is $417,760. And this would be paid out of Tier 2. GMC proposes a 13-month design schedule. Staff recommends approval.
What are the steps and the estimated timeline from the end of design through construction to completion? Is that to gauge at this point?
I would say it's probably a 1.5-year project because there's several sections of corridor, a lot of traffic control, but a lot of unknowns at this time. I think a 1.5 years may be a good guess, but at this time, no formal design in place. Matt?
Environmental may bite us on this one. Get into an IP or an individual permit versus a nationwide permit,
Which
just
we try
depending
to
on the
avoid.
design. So you have a concept we've worked hard on. I think we identified a lot of those issues. We tried to avoid as much as we could.
And that was the purpose of the concept phase, was to identify the alignment, to try to avoid all the environmental impacts as much as possible, to try to minimize traffic impacts, maximize connectivity. So I think we're in a good place to move them forward on design for as efficient delivery of construction as possible.
And how is the debris cleanup going along the existing?
We're averaging 550 feet a day. It's slow because they're able to make a lot of headway moving forward, but in order to get that debris and truck it out takes a lot of time. But they're confident they can finish within the time frame.
That debris?
Series.
Second.
So moved. Next.
This next item is an independent contractor agreement with Cranston Engineering for engineering services related to the Blue Ridge Drive Sidewalk and Drainage Improvement Project. This is also a part of TIA 2. There's a project, TIA 2, to resurface Blue Ridge Drive from Evans to Locks to Riverwatch Parkway. From Clark Point, just a few hundred feet, 700 feet short of Riverwatch Parkway, there's a section of sidewalk we want to connect. And in order to do that, it affects the roadway geometry. The roadway geometry affects the drainage. We have to add in curb and gutter and stuff. There's a lot of unknowns that we need a formal design. So we requested proposals from 4 firms, and Cranston was the lowest, most responsive. The amount of $104,720. And they propose a 9-month schedule. This would be paid out of Tier 2 as well. Staff recommends approval.
Move to consent.
Second.
So moved.
This next item is a conditional license encroachment and maintenance agreement with Nicole's Cove Homeowners Association off of Lewiston Road. This is to do some landscaping and potentially irrigation in at their entrance, the median and both sides of their entrance. We've received the concept plan, are agreeable to it. There's no site distance issues. Staff recommends approval.
Move to consent.
Second.
So moved. Next.
This is acceptance of a drainage and utility easement associated with Barnsley Drive Drainage Improvement Project. This is an easement, these are two easements from two parcel owners that there is a county-owned system that drains between these two parcels to another county-owned system. It is a non-county maintained section that's having a lot of erosion issues, and it's encroaching significantly toward one of these property owners' home's foundations. Staff feels it's incumbent upon us to control our stormwater, since it's going from one to another. We would like to accept these easements and mobilize stormwater operations to go in, repair this ditch and stabilize it so it doesn't create a problem for these homeowners. Staff recommends approval.
Consent.
Second.
So moved. Next.
And the final item is the acceptance of easements for Parker's Kitchen. This is permanent utility easements. There's two, as shown on the platform, EMC Engineering Services. I know that staff and county leadership have worked heavily with Parker's to ensure that not only the easement, but also the language met our standards, and county attorney was agreeable. So staff recommends approval of this easement.
Move to consent.
Second.
So moved. Thank you. Do you have any legal matters this morning?
No, ma'am.
Staff reports. Back to Mr. Gordon.
Yes, ma'am. I have the year-to-date budget report and the water and sewer construction project reports, and I'm prepared to answer any questions you may have.
No questions.
One question on the water tap fees that revenue we've collected so far is exceeding the budgeted revenue amount. Am I recalling correctly that we went up on water tap fees? Is that why?
We did it's been 2 years ago. I think it'll be 3 years this, 2 years this July 1st.
Okay, so we, maybe just the volume of,
Yeah, we didn't anticipate, I guess, the volume. We've increased. I know Paul said our permitting has been up this year, so.
okay.
No, ma'am.
Titus?
We have the roadway projects report and the roadway resurfacing report for your review, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Still on target for Pierce Ferry Road to finish?
2026 is what we're looking at, around summer of 2026.
On Horizon South Parkway and Ray Owens at White Oak, that roundabout, when is design expected to be done for those two? Or not Horizon South, the connector road, Horizon South.
Sure. So the Rayons, White Oak, we're reviewing the 90% plans now, 90% plans for the roundabout at Rayons and White Oak.
Okay.
So we hope by summer, we're ready to let that project for construction. And then the
Connector road.
Connector Road, the Chamberlain Horizon South Connector, 90% as well. I think 90% roadway plans and 60% bridge plans on that one. We're reviewing that, working through some final design solutions with them. And also there's drainage we're working through where it interfaces with Horizon South Parkway, but probably a little later, probably fall of this year, we're ready to let that one.
Okay. Do we have any commissioners' comment or public comment? We have one executive session item.
I'll make a motion, we move it to the full board.
So moved. Thank you. Seeing we have no other items, we will adjourn at 9 a.m.